This is my island in the sun, where my people have toiled since time's begun. I may sail on many a sea, her shores will always be home to me. I see women on bended knees, cutting cane for the families. I see the men at the waterside.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Samuel Fields Consulting Group, our e-learning series. And it's been a few weeks since we had one of our sessions. This evening, we are excited because we're going to be talking about family businesses and why they need succession plans. If you joined us last time, we met with the Ryan family and we were talking about generational wealth and what needs to happen for one generation to pass the wealth on to future generations. So continuing on that same theme, we are going to talk to our panelists today who are all representatives of family businesses. I'm Doreed Samuel Whitlock. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Samuel Fields Consulting Group, and it's a pleasure to be here today. It's International Mango Day, and my family, we love mangoes. I would say mangoes are our business. So let's get started by introducing you to our panelists today. We have representatives from family businesses in Antigua and Barbuda and also the United States. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Megan Samuel Fields. She is the CEO of Samuel Fields Consulting. Megan, welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
And
thank you so much for coming.
And happy International Mango Day to you.
Happy International Mango Day to you. I have my mangoes. I told everyone today I was going to go Body Pond and go mango picking, and I had a wonderful time and got my mangoes.
Fantastic. I'm jealous. Up next, we have Mr. Mario Winter. He is an assistant manager at Anjo Wholesale, one of our legendary family businesses in Antigua and Barbuda. Mario, welcome to the SFCG stage.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. Welcome.
Great. And we have Mr. Leslie Salmon, another legendary family business in St. John's, Antigua.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, Doreen. Happy Mango Day to everyone.
Do we have any mangoes in stock at Food Brokerage?
I'm sure they do have at Billy's.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Billy's is known for good produce. So welcome. And our last panelist is actually from New York City. She's from Harlem, New York, and she is in Antigua on vacation. Miss Trinez Woods Black. Trinez.
Hi everyone. Happy Mango Day, Antigua.
Okay. Welcome doesn't get more special in Antigua and Barbuda than with a mango. So I understand that I understand you're part of the family because mangoes are our business.
Oh yeah.
So,
I met some lovely family today that blessed me with the best mango. I have eaten so many of these. I'm almost embarrassed, but they are delicious. I can't stop eating them.
Well, a hearty Antigua and Barbuda welcome to you. We're going to introduce Trinez in greater detail, but let's jump right into our session today. And we've gone through our welcomes. But before we get into our presentations, and today, it's going to be a nice little talk about family businesses, the crisis that they're all facing, whether it's a family business, a small business, your personal finances, we're all trying to deal with COVID. So we have tips for everyone today that you can use either in your business or in your personal life. We're also going to talk about how businesses can improve their liquidity during this economic downturn that we're facing. We have advice for family business leaders on how to engage your stakeholders, how to level with them and let them know where you are, and so you can get the best support possible. We're going to look at some of the strengths of family businesses, which are a unique brand. And also, we are going to look at the role of continuity planning and succession planning. But let's get started with our poll of the day. And if you've done one of our sessions, we always try to lighten things up with a fun poll. And of course, it's International Mango Day, so we're going to do a poll from under the mango tree. And our poll today is International Mango Day. How would you characterize your savings habits in the past year as a type of mango? Did you save like kidney mangoes that are firm and plentiful with regular, consistent amounts in multiple accounts? How about a Julie mango, which is grafted? It's juicy, it's premium, but it's pricey. So would you say your savings, they were not regular, but you did do it in large amounts? What about a bellyful mango? Only one is required to feel satisfied. And so did your savings happen maybe once a year where you set aside a large part of your bonus? Or our last choice would be, are you one of those people that you just don't even like mangoes? So this doesn't apply to you. So let me run through them very quickly. Are you a kidney mango with regular, consistent amounts in multiple accounts? Were your savings not regular, but in large amounts? Or was it more like a bellyful, where you made one big deposit, maybe as a result of a bonus, some windfall, and you did one big lump sum that you saved? Or this doesn't apply to you because you don't even like mangoes. Take a minute and vote. Hopefully you got the drift, and we'll have results for you in a moment. Okay, we're going to get the results of our poll. Everyone pretty much, well, actually, there were some additional responses that I did not read, but I think for most people, you said your savings were like a hairy mango. They were difficult to eat. I don't have a lot of disposable income, but I saved what I could. That was the most prevalent answer. We also had kidney mangoes as your savings template, where I would say 31% of the people said your savings were regular, consistent, and in multiple accounts. So that was our poll for today. A little different, but hopefully you had some fun and we got your attention. And so we're going to get started with our very first, oh my goodness, she had to do it. Our CEO went mango picking. She's not even kidding. Look at her. That's a lot of mangoes, I tell you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing, Megan. So we're going to get started with our first speaker of today. I'm pleased to introduce you to Mario Winter. He is an assistant manager at Anjo Wholesale, a third-generation family business, and it's one of the largest distributors in Antigua and Barbuda, representing many brands. At Anjo Wholesale, they have a current customer base of over 350 outlets covering the entire island with a sales and distribution network. They have 8 large supermarkets, 30 medium to small supermarkets, 15 pharmacies, and the remainder are basically small shops. Mario grew up in the family business, and although it was not his initial professional goal, he returned to work with the family business after pursuing a college degree at FIU University, where he studied business administration. So here to tell us about the family business and to give us some tips on succession planning and how family businesses can work well, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Mario Winter. He is the assistant manager at Angel Wholesale.
Thank you, Dorit, for that lovely introduction. So here we go, straight into the action here. Why family businesses need succession planning. So it's a topic I find that has a lot of layers and things that you can talk about. So 10 minutes is a bit short, but I'll try and get through everything as fast as we can. But first things first, let's touch on the pandemic. The pandemic has affected everybody globally. Family businesses are no different, right? So we're all susceptible to sales losses, industries evaporating, manufacturing delays, raw material problems. We are no different from anybody else with these problems. So we are like you. We're all together in that sense. It's very difficult to find a balance when things are so uncertain. So you're trying to balance long-term survival, but you also want some good, calculated risk-taking in between there as well. So because of that, it's always a kind of undecided how to move forward, how to go forward kind of situation, which everybody is in that situation right now. Also the cost of everything is going up. Meanwhile, more and more people are unemployed and things are costing more to produce. You have to sanitize, you have to do all kind of different steps that we never had to take before. So business on a whole, it's in a difficult moment at this point in time. But what we can do is we can learn from these situations, right? We can learn about our businesses. Maybe we're too reliant on one stream of revenue. Maybe we're too reliant on a sector. Maybe we're too reliant on something in particular when it comes toward our business. And if we lose that, we essentially lose a lot of our business, So we have to try and diversify. We have to try and find other ways or other targets, or try and target new niches, new consumers, new markets. And, these things, they don't last forever. So I definitely say that we all have to keep it in the back of our mind that we have to be prepared for when everything does rebound, because it has to open back up at some point. So to go into challenges now of the meat of the issue, which is family businesses. Family businesses are exactly what a lot of people tell you not to do: mix business and pleasure, right? And it's like that for a number of reasons. It's hard to find that balance within the family, balance within the organization of like where you draw the line, is this allowed? Is this not allowed? Balance and boundaries are very important to the running and nature of a family business. It's also very easy to get comfortable, I find, in a family business where you're operating, you're doing all right, you're paying the bills, everybody's getting paid, and then you kind of get comfortable. You don't want to take no risks, you don't want to risk messing up anything, and to grow you have to take these calculated risks. Sometimes where the boundaries and balance comes in is where you have to set the right example, because the right examples start from the top, right? So if you're not taking it seriously, you're not committed, you're not dedicated, it really sets the bad precedent for the rest of the organization. And you definitely don't want, something as simple as that to cause a major rift within your organization. So it's also very easy when you're dedicated to let the organization or the business take up such a large chunk or portion of your life, because you spend 8 hours a day in work, sometimes more. You're always with these people that you work with, you're always talking about it, you're always it ends up taking a lot out of you and you don't even realize it sometimes. So that's a challenge in itself, because you need to have time to unwind for yourself. You need to be able to disconnect and take a step back from everything. So we don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. We want to last a long time, but we also want to excel at what we're doing, not just meeting the bare minimum. So some ways that I think that this is possible is like having a clear vision. How do we make this vision a reality? How are we going to overcome these difficulties, or how are we going to target new markets, or how are we going to adapt our sales to the switch to online, more of an online presence? These are very important questions that we have to ask ourselves on how we're going to make our future visions for the company a reality. And it's very important to have a vision, because where are you headed? You have to be able to have that vision to know. So adaptability to changes and challenges are key to surviving. If you're an adaptable company, you're open to change and stuff like that, you're a lot easier able to deal with situations that others may find challenging. That goes hand in hand with having an open mind. If you have an open mind, you're willing to listen to others, and it makes them feel important. It creates that feel-good factor throughout the company. And with that, you're able to see success, hopefully, on all fronts, staff morale, sales, different aspects that are key performance indicators for your company. A lot of things too with family businesses, things can get personal, things can get really emotional, and it's really tough sometimes, but it's important to have that black and white, that, business decision, this is not personal, don't take it personally. And risk-taking is a big part of growing a business. Take calculated risks. We can continue to thrive through taking advantage of relationships. Maybe we don't have an overdraft facility at the bank. Maybe we can speak to the bank like, hey, we're banking with you for so long. Can we, help to have more liquid cash through a overdraft facility? Can we ask for better payment terms from our suppliers? Can we, do different things like that that could help yourself, and then in turn you're able to help your customers or those that you're trying to target. Strategic planning is a big part of any business thriving. It provides stability through clear understanding of family business management to avoid challenges and tensions, new sales strategies to target new customers. And it's always important to have safety nets, like a limit, like a budget. You budgeted this much in expenses for a month, don't double that budget. Try and live within your means. Set new budgets based on the constraints that you're faced with right now, within the pandemic or any situation that you're faced with. And hiring talent is really important too. You can groom them, you can help to show them exactly what you're looking for. I think it's important not to put square pegs in round holes, if you understand where I'm going with that, because you are kind of setting yourself up for failure in a sense. Maybe you have someone in your family that is not that suited, but they're also not that interested, but you have someone on the outside of your family that you could hire, and it would be a much better fit for the organization and the longevity and the productivity. Then you should go with that option. You're not obligated to take in everyone because there's not a guarantee that because you're a family business that everybody in your family has to be involved in it. You have to take those hard decisions sometimes, and investing in your employees is a big way to help them become more confident and become experts at what they do on a day-to-day basis. It also helps you when you want to take vacation. You can take a little time off and you feel better about it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can thrive within your business. So some strengths that I wanted to touch on is, like, a lot of family businesses have like long-standing relationships, whether it be with your bank or other businesses, local communities. This helps to establish well-known brands, whether it's island-wide, regional, in a local community. No matter how big or small, it kind of, you have that equity then, within the community. Family businesses are also known for like consistency and stability, and that helps to build trust as well too. And trust is important when people are spending their money on a good or service or anything of the sort. Dedicated family members are usually at the heads of family businesses, and they're usually very invested, and this becomes like a way of life. And staff that perform well and do things and help you to achieve the company's goal, they really become like almost a part of your family, that you work hand in hand together to see the company grow and to make what's best of any given situation. And that's really important in a company, that feel good factor. The unity, the sticking together mentality, that family mentality, everybody, if you're not with us, you're against us kind of thing, a lot of family businesses start off and people never expect where they will end up. It can start off as something so small, but it can just grow and grow and grow through different organizations, or sorry, different generations of people within the family coming through and growing it. So it can earn the family an income from multiple generations, which is always a good thing. And you just never know how this one small idea can branch off and grow to heights you never even imagined before. So where does the succession planning start? It starts right away. It starts as soon as you want it to. If you're a business owner and the head of a business, your succession planning starts right away. What if something happens to you today? You need to be able to have a fallback. And as I touched on earlier, you have to be prepared too to look outside the family. Your business depends on the business, but you have to be prepared to look outside too, because not always are you going to find the right people for the right jobs within your business. So you shouldn't be afraid of mixing others into that mix. For myself, I graduated. I lived in Antigua my whole life. I went away for school. I came back. I worked in the business within summers, and then I came as soon as I graduated to work by the Monday morning. So I've been groomed through any free time that I've had off of school, and I've grown to learn different departments of the company: warehouse, customer service, to sales and marketing. The managers I've been shadowing until now. I've reached a stage where I am now as the assistant manager, sorry. And we can take a lot from larger corporations through the things that they do. Yeah, it's on a massive scale, but we can still take or learn lessons from them. We need contingency plans. We need things in case of natural disaster, sudden deaths. Policies and procedures manuals help us to be able to keep that continuity going. No matter who is there, something happens, that, okay, this is the procedure, this is the policy, and you keep going with that. If you have a sudden death and only one person knows all the information, how is that beneficial to you or the company? It's not at all, because you've just lost everything. You may have lost a whole generation of knowledge with that person passing. So it's really important to share the knowledge and wisdom with each other or within people within the business to ensure its longevity. Another challenge, though, that I've seen a lot of family-based businesses face is that a lot of the offspring, the children, don't want to be involved. And I feel like a lot of that is down to pressure from family or family members. Some people just want to do their own thing, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. I was like that. I wanted to do my own thing for a while. And, my father always told me, this is what my job is like, no pressure to do it, but I think it would be a good job for you and stuff like that. But he never ever put any pressure on me. And I actually wanted to drive cruise ships. I mean, look at me now, it's completely different, but I realized that, this is actually what I want to do. And the lure of growing and making something a lot better is a huge appeal to me. And I see a lot of potential. So for me, it's just being here and learning has helped to fuel my ambition to see the company grow and do better, because I can see it for myself, what can be done. And I know I'm capable of doing it. So, sometimes the answer is not don't pressure, but, give them a taste of it. Maybe they'll like it because they don't know what to experience or what to expect.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Mario. We got some great takeaways about what really makes a family business work, thrive, survive, and succession planning is definitely key. I heard risk-taking, I heard relationships, I heard strategic planning. And so for a company that's been around for that many years, as much as Angel Wholesale has been around, certainly those are good nuggets that we can all benefit from. Now we're going to have a change in programming. Our special guest, Ms. Trinez Woods Black, she's actually on vacation and was kind enough to agree to make a brief presentation. However, this is her last night in Antigua and she has dinner plans. So we're going to let her go a little early so that she can go out and have a great dinner and have a great last night in Antigua. So let me tell you a bit about Trinez. She is third generation culinary royalty. She is the granddaughter of the soul food icon Sylvia Woods, founder of Sylvia's Restaurant and Food Products, where she serves as the Vice President of Communications and Strategic Partnerships. She is a celebrated hospitality industry champion with over 20 years of experience, a sought-after advisor, personality, and speaker in the culinary lifestyle, philanthropic, and business corridors. To tell you a bit about Sylvia's, if you don't know, let me tell you, it's one of my favorite places in New York. It is known as the Queen of Soul Food. It was founded in 1962. So Sylvia's has been around for 60 years almost. And it's established in the historic village of Harlem. So it's a very small community. It is known as the world's kitchen. It serves authentic soul food. And it's a must visit for foodies. They're known for their Gospel Brunch Sundays, live music Wednesdays, and daily specials. Come visit for yourself and experience why presidential candidates, if you're a presidential candidate and you're serious, you must visit Sylvia's. They're also known to attract a lot of celebrities and Harlemites alike. And Trinez is currently serving on a board to help revitalize small businesses in New York City. She was appointed by Governor Andrew Cuomo. So she is actively involved. So from humble beginnings, she's now sitting on the board of New York City, providing advice and counsel to small businesses in New York, especially those in the hospitality business, as they come together to identify recovery strategies to revitalize the city. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Trinez Woods Black.
Looking at Sylvia's Restaurant, part of the Good Day New York family. They have been known and loved by New Yorkers and been a fixture in Harlem for decades. But like most of the restaurants in New York City, they were hit very hard by the pandemic.
Joining us this morning is Trinez Woods Black, Sylvia's granddaughter, who's joining us from inside the restaurant. Trinez, great to see you. You know how much we adored your grandma and you and the family and what you've done for the city.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for always being such a great friend to the restaurant and to my family and to New York as a whole, especially during this time. New York needs all the love she can get.
Well, we have been talking about, yesterday we reported on the amount of Black businesses that are really taking a hit during this time, particularly in Harlem. Tell us what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, what we're dealing with is something that we've never seen before. You heard, I'm having such an amazing time in my second home, Antigua, and with it being National Mango Day, what better way to spend my last full day in Antigua than eating fresh mangoes beachside. The only other thing better is talking about family businesses and definitely sharing some tips on how others that are out there in the same position could navigate these crazy waters that we find ourselves in. First, I'll start by giving some background about Sylvia's so that you can just get a better understanding of our family's business culture. My great-great-grandmother was the first Sylvia Woods, and upon the death of her second husband, she inherited quite a bit of land. And when her children got old enough to live on their own, she gifted them land. And one of those children was my great-grandmother, Grandma Julia Presley, who gave birth to Sylvia, my grandmother, better known to everyone else as the Queen of Soul Food, or Sylvia, or Mom. And my grandmother Sylvia, she grew up on a farm in Hemingway, South Carolina. She was raised by 2 widowed women, and those women were widowed. And the reason why I take it all the way back there is because Julia's father was actually lynched for a crime he didn't commit. So needless to say, Julia's mother had a lot to contend with to hold on to the land that she received, and so on and so forth. And then my grandmother Sylvia, her father was actually in the war in New York, in the States. And he actually was sent home to die because back then they didn't treat Black soldiers. So 2 strong women is the foundation of our family's business. Sylvia's restaurant started out in 1962 after my grandmother worked as a waitress for about 16 years. When she and my grandfather married in 1944, they left South Carolina and set their sights on Harlem. And when my grandmother started working at what was called Johnson's Luncheonette, she learned a lot of skills. One of the main things is she understood the importance of hard work and creating opportunities that would allow her children and other relatives to thrive in. Mr. Johnson himself had an opportunity that was further upstate, and he offered the restaurant to my grandmother in 1962. So it's 1962, my grandparents have 3 children, and you couldn't go to a bank back then. So that very land that my great-grandmother Julia inherited from her mom that I mentioned earlier was the land, the deed was taken to a family in South Carolina, a wealthy family, and they gave the value of the land to my great-grandmother. Now, although it was a couple of dollars short, Mr. Johnson accepted that offer, and on August 1st, 1962, Sylvia's restaurant was born. And it quickly became a place for the community of Harlem to come and feel at home. The majority of Harlem during that time had migrated from the South and from what we know as the Jim Crow South. So you had a lot of people really leaving oppression and finding their way in a new city like New York. I mean, there's no city like New York, but the beautiful commonality was that everyone was from home. Everyone was from the South, and food is what was the common denominator. And that's how the restaurant became a safe space and a meeting place for all of Harlem, which were mostly transplants from South Carolina. So as the business grew, my grandmother needed more help from family and other Harlemites, but especially from family. And I can remember I'm 10 years younger than the restaurant. So I can remember different family members periodically coming from all parts of the South to stay with my grandmother and work at the restaurant and make their money and then go back down to South Carolina and purchase land or pay for college and things of that nature. So the restaurant was sort of our family plan. And my grandmother often said that she didn't start out to build this internationally known business. She just wanted a place safe to work that she can pass on to her children the way that her mother and her mother's mother was able to pass on assets to her. So family planning and succession for us is of the utmost importance. My grandmother, with the help of her children, extended family, husband, in-laws, Harlemites, grew Sylvia's restaurant from its original 35-seat capacity to being able to accommodate over 400 people. It started out with the restaurant, and then we quickly realized that in addition to the restaurant, we were also managing real estate. As we expanded our restaurant, we purchased the properties adjacent to the left and to the right of us until there was no more property to be bought on Lenox Avenue between 126 and 127th Streets, except for the church on the corner, which we're great friends with, the Church of Christ. Great neighbors to have a church anchoring you, especially in Harlem. We have churches on every corner. But what we realized as the decades went on and on, the importance of putting family members in the positions that play to their strengths, and to really pay attention to what those contributions are. So it was the perfect recipe for success for my family. I remember being a bus girl and training at the age of 13. And I was really excited to go from being a bus girl to being a server, being a waitress, so I can make good tips. And when the training was over, my grandmother gave my cousin Tamika a station, and she put me on the door as a hostess, and my heart was broken. I was like, oh my gosh, Grandma, what did I do wrong? What can I do? I really want to wait tables because I want to make tips. And she said to me, she said, Trinez, trust me. I'm putting you in the place that you're going to succeed and you're going to have success, and you'll make tips. She said, with that gift of gab you have and your ability to just talk and be hospitable, I'm certain that people will tip you as well. So that was my entree into communications. And then from there, I went on to college and to obtain a communications degree and start my own business. But the main thing that was able to allow me to have continued success within my family's business and also make space for me to grow out my own legacy with my family business was making sure that you put your family in positions of strengths. Not everybody can do everything well. Now, we may be able to do all things, but doing all things exceptionally well comes down to God-given talent. And in a family business, it's so imperative that you put other family members in positions of strength, because if not, it could cause a whole series of emotions and anxiety, and it can cause unnecessary friction. Another thing about family business is that once you define your roles and responsibilities, you want to make sure that you receive information from other family members that can help you to build the given area that you're over. I remember my father saying to me that, how did he phrase it? He said, well, there's a lot of you guys, so you really need to be mindful. You really need to be mindful of creating other opportunities. So, you know, when you're entrusted with a family business, it's not for you to just rest on your laurels or rest on the accomplishments of the generations before. It's up to you to bring in new talent, new ideas that will continue to build the business further. So for us, the visionary in my family during like the 80s was my Uncle Van. Van Woods, who is the oldest child of my grandparents. And Van had the vision of putting my grandmother's face on food products. And it wasn't something that was readily acceptable by different grocery stores. Believe it or not, there was a lot of pushback from very large organizations about having my grandmother's face on the products. But we knew as a family, it didn't matter to us if that wasn't going to sell more. You know, we knew that we needed proper representation in our grocery stores and in our culture. It was very important for my family to see a Black face reflected and thriving, so that others could, would know that, hey, if the Sylvia Woods family can do it, and they came from humble beginnings in South Carolina, on a farm where my grandmother was raised by 2 women, to having the largest Black family-owned food product company in the country is something that I feel really blessed to have been able to experience the process and to be a part of. But, again, you don't rest on that. Although our food product company is about 25 years old, we're always looking for new opportunities and new ways to continue to grow the product line, and at the same time make sure that we retain ownership. And it's one thing to you may have partners, but it's another thing to make sure that you remain majority owner, and that's something that's important for us. Another thing that's important for family businesses at the level of family is to remember you guys are family. Your family. My grandmother did not allow us to argue. She was just a brilliant woman, and she instilled in us the importance of good credit. She instilled in us more so the importance of good credit, or right along with it, parallel, would be the importance of saving. So as a family, you always want to save for a rainy day. You want to, if you're going into the hospitality industry, I tell people all the time, do not take your 401k from corporate and open a restaurant. No, you need to find non-traditional resources of money to get monies. You don't want to go to the bank. The restaurant industry is a very risky industry. And that's why a lot of banks don't fund restaurants and things of that nature. So it's important to diversify where you're going to get funding from. Whenever you can, purchase real estate. Purchase real estate. What got us through the pandemic, and what is getting us through, is the fact that we are our own landlord. So we get to control what those parameters are. A lot of small businesses didn't fare or make it during COVID because they just simply weren't able to keep up with the rental demands, or they just knew that there was no way that they would be able to catch up with payments and things of that nature. So when you have a family business, you want to try to diversify your revenue streams. So stay true to your brand. Stay true to the philosophy and the principles of the legacy of the business. Now, that doesn't mean to stay stagnant and not to grow. That's not what that means at all. You want to stay in tune with the times and the demands, and you want to understand how people and how your customers interact with you, what their experience is like. And you want to just be true to your brand identity, but also introduce new things that go along with your brand that are authentic. And you have to constantly look for various partners. and different partnerships, different opportunities. When it comes down to restaurants, catering is something that every restaurant, regardless of your size, you should do catering. That is a very good space where you can put off most of the costs to the client, you know, the staffing, the food costs, and the things of that nature. So catering is very important. And when it comes down to succession, overall, what I've realized as I've met various family businesses, it's very rare that family businesses make it to the fourth or even third or sometimes second generation, because you don't have anyone that's passionate about it and or that has the skill set. And what I say to that, if you find yourself in a position where you don't have a relative that wants to continue to grow the business, then I would suggest that you find someone who is passionate about the industry that your business is in, and you partner with them to keep it going, and then you still maintain majority ownership. As far as COVID is concerned, you have to be nimble. Make sure that you are up to date on all of the laws and the changing guidelines and the curfews and the temperature checks and things of that nature. You want to make sure now more than ever that you're compliant. Compliances, fines and things of that nature are always one of the things that governments go after a pandemic, unfortunately, to try to like rebuild and get money for the city. So you want to make sure that you're above reproach, you know, make sure that you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. But most importantly, you want to make sure that you never stray away from the philosophy of your business and what the generations of guests have become accustomed to having. You want to make sure that that formula is there. And for Sylvia's, it's definitely a formula of we're not exclusive. We are inclusive. We are family. We are culture. You know, we are soul food. You know, and we call it the Sylvia's way. Even when we're dealing with this national labor shortage in the States, and it's really, really difficult. And thank God, you know, I have such a big family and we all started out, you know, bussing tables and worked our way up. So we're able to, you know, run our business with it being majority family and a limited amount of our staff family. But you wanna also make sure that you're listening to the employees that work for you, because at the end of the day, they're your ambassadors. That's what my father likes to call them. My dad's our CEO, and he likes to call our staff our ambassadors, because they're the ones that are representing you every single day and showing up in ways that, you know, sometimes you don't even know about, but they're representing you. So you want to make sure that as you're growing your business, you take the right people along with you. And it's okay if you don't have a lot of family members. You know, again, you want to, it's not about, okay, you're family, so you're automatically part of the team. No. If you're family, you've got to show your skill set and then play to that strength. And that's how you have success. And for us, I know for a fact that having a great relationship with our community, supporting our community organizations, going to the community meetings, sitting on the boards, hearing what's happening within your community and within your industry, and then taking that information back to your other family members that are involved in the business. That's a recipe for success. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that you have to love what you're doing. And if you're in hospitality, you have to love people. And if you don't love people, then maybe don't open a restaurant. Maybe open a little cute takeout place where you can put somebody very friendly up, but they can serve that saltfish better and that dukana, but if you don't like people, just stay out of the business. But I'm hoping that some of these tips and making sure that you try to operate as lean as possible, but remember that your family needs a break too. Your family needs a break too, and it's great to have an open line of communication.
Absolutely.
That's really what it's all about. Communicating where you're at. Make sure that if you bring a problem, that you've already thought about 10 different solutions. And you pray. We pray over our business. My family, we are majorly outspoken, about our faith. And I do believe that the lineup that used to happen every Sunday, where regardless of your nationality, your race, or your religion, the whole staff family and our family would come together. And you're talking at one point, we had 117 people on payroll prior to COVID. So everyone would come together in a circle, and different staff family would lead in prayer, whether it was Christian or to Muslim or whatever, just sending up that good vibe and just being thankful for the opportunity to work at Sylvia's and to represent the African American culture through hospitality.
That's great. Trinez?
Yes.
I can't thank you enough.
Oh,
this was such great information. I never heard the story about how Sylvia started. So thanks for sharing.
Oh, you're so
And, I know, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. Who works on vacation? Only Trinez. So we want to thank you. That was really great information. I'm here trying to manage our time, but you gave us so much. I know you can't stick around for questions, but you've really given us an earful and a lot of great information. And so on behalf of the Samuel Fields Consulting Group, I want to thank you so much for sharing. And hopefully your story has been an inspiration to just someone out there who is trying to rebuild their business, maybe restructure their personal finances and embark on a better path to financial wellness. So go enjoy dinner. We really appreciate it. And I'll catch up with you before you leave Antigua and Barbuda.
Thank you so much. And listen, tell everyone, follow your passion and the money will follow you.
There you go. There you go. Great advice. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Bread hugs.
All righty. So next up, guys, thanks so much to Trinez. We certainly got a lot of great information. You have Leslie Salmon from Food Brokerage Services, who is up next, and he'll tell us about his family business. Leslie?
Thank you, David. I'm very excited about this opportunity that was afforded to me by Megan Fields in asking me to speak on this topic today. I'm going to use a lot of my personal experiences. I think the topic basically was about succession planning. Family businesses are no different than any other business in the world. You have the same issues, and as I heard earlier in the presentation by Mr. Winter, challenges of all businesses, but the succession planning is what I want to touch on because I had some personal experiences in that area. I remember when I just came back from university, I worked with my father for about a year, going on to about 2 years before he was ill and had to travel. And I distinctly remember that just a couple of days before, he was just giving me a crash course in what I had to do. All right. So when I was asked to do this, I said, while I knew I grew up in the business and I knew the operational side of the business, I did not know the behind the scenes, what really made the business work. But luckily, I had the foundation in having the university education. And so when I had to take over the reins, which was about 29 years ago, I was not prepared. And so I had to learn a lot of it actually on the fly and put that with my college education to get things going. So that means that I know how important succession planning is. But what my father did, which I think I could pass on, is he had a very good estate plan in place. So when he passed away, it was very clear who was expected to do what and what the shares were. And I think that was one of the benefits. So while I wasn't prepared to do the behind the scenes work, which I learned over time, there was none of that family fighting. From my understanding, that's what makes a lot of businesses struggle in succession planning, when you have the infighting among siblings or other family members in who is in control. So that is the point that I want to emphasize. You have to be very clear in your succession plan who will be the heir apparent, for want of a better word. All right, I think, so what I'm saying is there should be a clear succession plan, and it doesn't have to be a family member. It is who is the best person for that job. Because even though it's a family business, it has to survive just like any other business. And it's only going to survive if the right person is doing the right job. So it does not mean that in fact, I would encourage, if you don't have a family member that you think is the right person to do that job, I would advise you hire somebody externally, because your major goal should be to make the business successful. You do not necessarily make the business successful by having a family member there. It might be smarter to bring in somebody that you could derive the benefits, but have a better suited person who actually can do that job. And so that one of the things that I have tried to do in my case is I'm not going to force my children, both of them finished school, into the business. While I'm lucky that the both of them are involved in the business at different levels, I want them to eventually come. I told them, you don't have to, you're welcome. When you feel you're ready, you'll come. And I think I learned that. I want them to come on their own, and I would emphasize that. One of the reasons because in my situation, my brother, he made it clear, right, that he was not interested in coming into the family business right away. I was not interested, ironically. If my father didn't fall ill, I wanted to work in the States. I already had a job in the States, and my plan was to work in the States for 10 to 20 years, and then hopefully use that institutional knowledge and come back home and take over the business. And it didn't work out that way. And I got a baptism by fire. But the unique position I was put into was that I remember when my father first started the business, the first branch was at Newgate Street, right opposite high school. And when we made the first $100, this was the 1st of March in 1977, we closed the business and went to the beach, right? So I remember when he made his first $100. And so I remember when he had nothing to basically a business that when he passed away, he had 8 employees. Now we have a business that we have 80 full-time employees and multiple other employees that we use through contract work. So we affect at least over 100 plus individuals, giving them employment. And so it's more than a family business to me, it's more of a legacy, all right? And as was stated earlier, there were 2 major challenges that I found since I've been managing the business. The first one is in 2009, when they had the financial crisis, and then the current pandemic that we're going through. And it teaches you a lot when you have to go through these crises. It makes you stronger it makes you figure out, how do I manage this? And as was stated, your relationship with your banks and the relationship with your suppliers. Having strong relationships is very important. And that's why succession planning is important, because not because the banks had a good relationship with my father or the suppliers had a good relationship with my father, mean they're going to have a good relationship with me. I had to earn my respect. So that's very important in succession planning. Do not think you're automatically going to get that same kind of loyalty because you are related to the current CEO. You're going to be tested. They're going to make sure that you are that you can be relied on to lead the company. That goes back to what I said earlier, that if you're not the best person, it's best you give that job to somebody else to do to ensure the success of the business. I also think that family businesses are very good for the economy and for the society on the whole. And it's something that I think in Antigua, and especially, we need to see more family businesses survive and thrive. And so we should share ideas and work together on what works and what does not work. One of the things that one of the biggest challenges I had when I first took over the business was prioritizing how to manage your cash flow. Cash is king in running a business, and you have so many pressures of what to do. And when things get tight, your cash flow gets tight. Your suppliers, they have their needs, and your customers still want a certain amount of credit. So handling that cash flow becomes very key, and it's very difficult to how to prioritize it to keep everyone happy and keep the business successful. It's very important to your employees. You cannot have a successful business without your employees. It's impossible. So you have to keep your employees happy. You have to keep them motivated. And when you have family members as part of that business, you have to make the hard decisions not to show that favoritism, because employees pick up on that. And if they feel like you're favoring too much, they get demotivated, all right? And you might even lose some good employees because they would think, hey, why am I staying? Because he's naturally going to be the next accountant, she's going to be the next marketing manager, etc., etc. So they don't see any room for growth. So that is one of the downsides of a family business. So what you have to do is you have to try to make your employees understand it comes back to who has the best talent. So what I'm trying to do currently is try to develop the individuals in the company with the help of the HR to say, we want the best person for the job. Because if the family is not the best person for the job, be frank. I encourage you to be frank and tell me who the best person for the job is. Because, as you said, it's succession planning. Once the business survives, that family member will benefit. But they don't have to be a part of the business for it to survive. And I think that's a very important distinction that I would like to make when it comes to succession planning. It goes back to taking the emotion out of the decision making. And I think that is what's very important, because not because you're a family business, you play by a different set of rules. In fact, more is expected. So because you have that emotional attachment, so it's actually a little more difficult, but it is the only way you could survive. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons for family businesses failing, the amount of emotional attachments they have. When you make a decision, that person that you might have to suspend, that person you might have to fire, that person you may have to take that action on, maybe somebody that you're going to see later in the day. That's where the emotion comes in. And they may take it personally. So you have to navigate that a lot differently than a regular employee where there's no emotional connection. So I think that would be some of the points that I would like to focus on how to run a family business. You have to have strong leadership. You have to be able to make the difficult decisions, because you're playing by the same rules as any other business out there. And not because you're a family business, you're going to get any special favors. So I think those are the areas I would like to touch on at this time.
Thank you so much, Leslie. That was very insightful. I like what you had to say about cutting all the emotional ties. Sometimes you have to discipline family, sometimes you have to fire family, but it's all about making the best decisions for the business. That's what succession planning is all about. We are getting to our last speaker, our CEO, Mistress Megan Samuel Fields. I encourage you, if you have questions, to begin to post them in the chat. Ms. Samuel Fields will do a brief presentation and we will move to the Q&A. And I encourage you, begin to post your questions. We'll be happy to respond to them and get you some answers. So it's my distinct pleasure to welcome to the SFCG stage, Mrs. Megan Samuel Fields, who will give us the wrap up on succession planning for family businesses. Mistress Megan Samuel Fields.
Thank you so much, Mario, and thank you, Leslie. You both have provided food for thought. I know our participants will have quite a lot to think about based on what you've said. So as you know, today is International Mango Day. So there's my mango tree, not mine, but well, my wishful mango tree. So today we're going to be speaking about why family businesses need a succession plan. And it is a part of legacy building, and Leslie did speak about that. We'll be speaking about what is a succession plan, why do family businesses need a succession plan, and how can Samuel Fields Consulting Group, SFCG, help? So we will speak about a succession plan. What is a succession plan? A succession plan is really making the necessary planning and the necessary preparation to allow for a smooth transition or a smooth transfer of ownership and management of the family business, as well as family assets, to the next generation. And this is what lots of people sometimes get a little stuck on, because they get so caught up in the day-to-day activity that they don't stop to think about what's happening or what's to happen down the road. This succession plan should include at least 3 plans. It should include a business plan, an exit plan, and an estate plan. Now, most of us are familiar with a business plan. So a business plan is a document that lists our goals, the business goals, and the methods that will be used to achieve these goals. And so most businesses either have a business plan or at least know about a business plan, but there also should be an exit plan. And the exit plan is, how does the person that's running the business, how do they exit the business? And there are various ways, but it needs to be planned. It could be a particular date is planned, and on that date, that person just exits. Or it could be various methods. So I know of a client who has decided his exit plan would be to go into the office 3 days a week for the next year. And then after that, he will take it down to 1 day a week, and then eventually he will exit. So whatever works, there needs to be an exit plan. There also needs to be an estate plan. And I think Leslie did speak about this as well. But an estate plan is where you actually plan how you're going to deal with the transfer of your assets to family members, various family members. So it is very important to ensure that you have these 3 plans. And within your estate plan, you should consider having a will, which will document exactly how you want your assets to be distributed after you've passed. A Succession plan also ensures that there are structures in place for strong leadership, for effective decision-making, so that family wealth and family relationships, which has been spoken about today, that they remain in place. So having a succession plan will ensure that your wealth is protected as well as your relationships. Let's speak about why family businesses would need a succession plan. Most family businesses, they have a level of independence and income that keeps the family going. Having a succession plan will ensure that the independence and the accomplishments and the income continues. It will ensure that there's business continuity for multiple successive generations. So imagine what you're doing now can affect your grandchildren and even your grandchildren's children. Create a structure. So important to have a structure so that you can have a smooth transition between the persons who are retiring or exiting and the persons who are the successors. Also creates a structure so that in the event of an unforeseen circumstance, such as illness or death, that the company can continue because there is a structure. There's also a structure for training and development. And I have to say that for family businesses, training and development in many instances sometimes seem to get pushed aside. But if you have a succession plan, you will be forced to consider training and development for the persons who you wish to succeed. It also involves identifying those family members who might be unwilling to inherit the business. And as was said earlier, it's important to know and to accept that some family members just may not be willing to continue in the business. And if that is so, it makes no sense trying to push the family member into taking over the business. Succession plan also ensures that your family wealth is protected and managed. It can also help to strengthen family ties and engagement to the business. So if you know that there's a succession plan and you as the younger one, you know that summers you're going to be coming home and working in the business because you know that the succession plan is eventually for you to be in the business, it would help to strengthen the ties and your commitment to the business. How can SFCG help? Well, we provide consultancy services, the development and implementation of succession plans. We also provide legal advice regarding tax issues which might be connected to your businesses, whether it's corporations, partnerships, or other types of companies. We also provide estate planning. We prepare legal documentation necessary to facilitate transition of ownership and management of the business. As you know, we have a wide range of services that we offer: accounting and financial services, receivership, bankruptcy and insolvency, legal services, strategic planning, personal financial management, where we have our little financial plans. We also have legacy protection services. And legacy protection services is where we have a range of services: estate planning, will preparation, trusts, powers of attorney, property management, retirement planning. These are all part of your legacy planning. I will end by just reading a quote from Robert Kiyosaki that says, "It's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for." So let's try to see how we can ensure we have succession planning for our businesses. If you need more information, you can contact us at Samuel Fields Consulting Facebook or website www.samuelfieldsconsulting.com, or you can send us an email at info@samuelfieldsconsulting.com. Thank you.
Here we are, and we want to thank all of our presenters here today for a very enlightening, very educational session where we've learned so much about family businesses. But of course, this is great information that can be used by any type of business. It can be used in your personal finance planning. Our goal here at Samuel Fields Consulting Group is to provide you with the information that you need to really embark on a path of financial wellness, improve your financial literacy, and to give you all the tools that you need to transform your finances, particularly during this very difficult time when the pandemic has really caused a lot of us to stop and really rethink our financial strategies. Now, we had a promotion ongoing where we encouraged everyone to sign up. And if you signed up by 12 noon today, your name was entered to win or to qualify to win a free gift certificate, which can be used to any of our little by little financial plans, our consultation plans. And that's what we do. So we have our gift certificate, and this was very random. I don't happen to know this person, and I'm going to try to get the name correctly. It is Latoya Dewberry Augustine. Latoya Dewberry, I think it's Augustine. And if Latoya is on, we want to say congratulations to you. I believe we have your contact information if you're not on. But Latoya, to get your $100 gift certificate, which you can use personally, or you can gift it to someone else, you need to contact our offices at 268-464-0841 and claim your prize. Congratulations on behalf of Samuel Fields Consulting Group. Hopefully we can put this good information to use, and we can get you the advice that you need, or perhaps someone that you know. So at this point, we are going to take questions. I know that we've had a few questions. I will try to take as many as possible. And the first question we have is, what will happen if the founder of the business dies without a will? It often happens with a lot of small businesses. What will happen if the founder of the business dies without a will? Megan, do you want to take that question?
Sure. So if, so you speak about the founder of a business, but really it applies to just about anyone. So if the founder of a business dies without a will, then the law would step in, and there is the law that basically says if you die without a will, then this is how your assets will be distributed. If the person who died had a spouse, then the spouse will get a certain percent of the estate. If they're children, the children will get a certain percent of the estate. If there's no children, if there's no spouse, then it goes down to parents or brothers and sisters. So that's what would happen from a legal point of view. But I dare say there very well may be a bit of chaos if the founder of a business dies without a will, because then there will be questions asked as to who is to take over, who actually owns the business. And so it could become quite complicated. So I would say to business owners, but not just business owners, even individuals, it makes a lot of sense to just do a will. Make a will and ensure your wishes will be adhered to once you've passed on.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a question for Leslie Salmon. Leslie, what is the most difficult? What do you find most difficult about taking over a family business from a parent that was well known? What was your biggest challenge in taking over a business from a parent who was very well known? Interesting question, Leslie.
I think I touched it in my presentation. It's proving yourself. You understand? Because everybody has certain expectations. And I would say that would be the biggest challenge, that even though that I am not him, he gave me a good foundation, and this is how I'm going to do it. Because, you know, the only thing consistent in business is change. So I'd say the biggest challenge was proving myself, even though I didn't do things exactly like how the founder, who is my father, did it. That was the challenge in the early days.
Okay, great. And we have a question for Mario. Mario, as the question is, as a young person working in the family business, what advice do you have for other young persons who may be resistant to the idea of working in the family business? Again, the question is, as a young person who is working in a family business, what advice do you have for other young persons who may be resistant to working in a family business?
For me, I think the best thing I could say to that is don't knock it without trying. As I said in my presentation, this is not something that I grew up wanting to do. So my time here, with my time off from school and any free time that I had, and I came here and I got to learn it, I grew a love for it, and I saw a lot of areas to improve. So my best answer to that would be hard work. There's nothing that you can't accomplish through that, and just getting a taste of it, because you really never know what it's like until you actually experience it for yourself.
Okay. Thanks for that. And Megan, there's a question for you. How do you go about getting, I'm sorry, what are some of the things that are necessary to start making a will? And I would imagine in terms of making a recovery plan in total. But Cartwright Jarvis wants to know, what are some of the things that are necessary to start making a will?
Okay, so I'll start off by saying it's simple. I think sometimes people think a will, it just sounds really difficult, maybe legal, but really, at the end of the day, all it is, a will just lists what it is you want to do with the things that you have, in its simplest form. So the first thing I would say to you is, if you have, so we're talking about businesses, but as I said, it's not just for businesses, but let's speak about businesses. So you have a business, you might have other property. The first thing I would say to you is to determine, who do you want to give what to? And once you've made up your mind as to who you want, and it can be various ways. You can have two persons jointly owning something, or one person having a life interest, and then after that person passes, then somebody owns it outright. There are various ways, but it's the first thing I would say. Know exactly what assets you have. And I spoke about property, but it's not just land. It's also, your assets would also include your cash. It would include your stocks, your bonds, your vehicles. And so just make a list of all the things that you have and make a determination who you want to leave them for. And then I would say after that, you find a lawyer who will be able to put it all together. But that really is, it's that simple. Just determine who it is that you want to leave these things to. And then you also have to determine who will be your executor or executrix, the person who will basically stand in your shoes and do what it is you have said in your will. So that person will then become you and will do whatever your wishes.
It sounds like a succession plan to me. And these are some of the reasons why having a succession plan is so important, because a will would just be one of those boxes that you check off as you go along. And
Absolutely.
of course, you know, succession plan isn't something that you can do overnight. You know, psychologically, it takes a lot to even bring yourself to that point where you make decisions for the future, and you're making decisions for that surround your demise. You're planning for when you're gone. So that cannot be easy psychologically. So I would imagine a succession plan is a process. It's a number of steps that people would have to take. And somewhere in there, the issue of a will has to absolutely surface.
Sure.
Leslie, someone has another question for you. They want to know if your children or your nieces or your nephews are not interested in running the business after you, what would your next steps be? What plans would you put in place if your children, nieces, and nephews express that they're really not interested in carrying on the business? What would your next steps be?
That's a very good question, and I think I touched on it in my presentation. I had a personal experience with it because, as I mentioned, I was lucky that my wife and my mother started off in the business and helped me in that transition phase after my father's death. But my brother said he wanted to go down a different road, and he did. And he has reached to, he's working with American Airlines now, and he's in management in Dallas. So he went down his own career and was successful. So why I led off by saying that is that you don't necessarily, you have to make them come on their own. You have to speak to them, let them know, hopefully experience it. And if they decide not to, I encourage them to go off in their career. So more specifically to the question on hand is that the business has enough individuals in it currently that could be groomed to take over any position. I've heard a mentor of mine say something that I quite liked. He said, you have to train yourself to put yourself out of a job. And that's what I am trying to do. It's very difficult, trying to make the business run without me. And I was listening to what was Megan was saying when he said they went down to 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. I quite like that. So what I have enough staff and competent individuals currently on staff that I'm convinced I could have, if that was to happen, that none of my family members wanted to take over, that the business could survive. It's just to pick the right person that has the passion and the ability to make it continue. Because remember, as I said in my earlier remarks, is the legacy. So you do not have to be a part of the business to have a successful family business. That's my personal belief, and that's the takeaway I'd like everyone to have with that. You do not have to have a family member leading or actively involved for it to be a successful family business. Because the smart thing to do is to know your limitations. Know you either don't have the technical ability or know you don't have the passion. So the smart thing to do is make the business work for you. As you said, make the money work for you, make the business work for you, and go and pursue your passion. So that's what I would do if that was to happen to me.
Fantastic. And that was a theme that all of the speakers emphasized, you know, having the fit, having the right people in the right positions, not just placeholders, but people who are qualified and people who are passionate about the roles that you're going to place them in. So that's definitely a nugget of wisdom that was consistent across all speakers. Mario, let me come back to you. A question that was posed. Again, I guess they're looking at you as a younger person in training for management in the business, and they want to know what kind of advice does management look to you for as a younger person in the organization, and what advice have you provided during COVID-19? What type of advice does the management in your family business look to you for typically? And can you share with us any specific advice that you might have shared with your family as it relates to the COVID-19 crisis?
Sure. So that's a long one, but I think I can remember both parts. So actually, a lot of things that go through the business right now, they actually ask my input on a lot of them. It's a lot of pressure, honestly, but I get asked a lot of questions. A lot of those kind of things get run by me because they're thinking about the future. They're thinking about later down, and they want to give me a platform in which I can speak and in which I can and grow and put my ideas and practices to the test and see its results in real time. So I would say that a lot of it passes through me, and I'm quite happy with the responsibility that comes with. It's actually good to know that they have the faith in me and place that responsibility in me, really and truly. And secondly, with the COVID is, I've been preaching a long time about, taking some risks or not being afraid to spend certain money. And I think that's really the main takeaway. Like, the cost of doing business has gone up with COVID because of all the extra steps you have to take and different things from sanitizing to temperature checks and the equipment and machinery and whatnot. So for me, I've just helped them to realize that it's just another part of doing business. This is now a norm that we are faced with. We have to adapt to it. We have to change. We have to be flexible in this sense. And it's just another cost of doing business at this point in time. And we're trying other things that we haven't completed yet, but we're trying to move the company in a direction where we can do business without you physically coming here. You place an order online, it gets delivered to you, those kind of things. And that's really what we're working on right now. And I guess the main part of it is, like, don't be afraid to invest in things that are going to serve you well in the long run, because it's going to be beneficial now and it'll be beneficial in the future because technology is just constantly growing. So I think the largest part of my contribution is to technology and technological advancements within the company.
Fantastic. We're almost out of time, but we're going to take two more questions. Megan, a question that someone has, they're questioning whether is it advisable that the executor of your will also be a beneficiary? Is that advisable? Any objections to that?
No, there's no objection to that. If you think about it, you could have, let's say, a business owner who might want his wife to be the executrix of his estate, but also the wife would also be maybe the beneficiary of the business. What is not advisable is for the persons who witness the signature, because the person who is preparing the will, who makes the will, has to sign. That would be the testator. And so whoever is witnessing the signature should not be a beneficiary. But again, these are things that you would discuss more with your attorney. And so what you need to do, as I said, first off, get all your properties listed, all your assets listed, and then you go and speak with your attorney.
And as we keep saying, these are all elements of a succession plan. So it's a process. It's not an act. It's not a particular line item. It's a process. And there's several things that go into this plan. And over time, it's something that business owners have to begin to think about, put into motion, and complete the box.
Yes, so I actually want to mention something Mario said earlier when he was in his presentation. He said, when should you start? And he said, right away. And I think that's such a good point, because people think that a succession plan is something you do further down the road, but really from the time you start, you should be putting things in place to have a proper succession plan. So as you start, or wherever you are on your journey in your business, you should really try to have your succession plan.
That's great. Well, we are over time, but I have one last question for Leslie Salmon. And someone wants to know, Leslie, there seems to be a trend where many businesses, many of our family businesses are being sold to non-Antiguans. What are your thoughts on partnering with non-family members as a part of your business? What do you think about the saying that a partnership is a leaky ship? Let me repeat. Many businesses are being sold to non-Antiguans. What are your thoughts about partnering with non-family members as a part of your business? What are your reactions to the saying that a partnership is a leaky ship?
That's a heavy question, but it's a very, very good question. I personally think that saying a partnership is a leaky ship is outdated. I think it's the only way to go forward because there's so much change with globalization. The pandemic proved it. The communication that you had to do from home, you had to actually work from home. So I believe the biggest thing in any relationship is trust. And as Megan said, if you have a good contract, I believe the only way businesses could survive and thrive in these turbulent times and going forward in the future is having strategic partnerships. I think that's the way forward with other family businesses, non-family businesses, even other companies in the Caribbean. All right, I think unless this thing of just having only family members running a business is no longer going to work because you're not big enough. You don't have the economies of scale. And I think one of the reasons why sometimes businesses come externally and come into Antigua and sometimes be successful, and some of our family businesses have difficulties, they have great economies of scale. Mm-hmm. Okay, so somebody could come from China, somebody could come from America, they would have more wealth because they had they're accustomed to deal with a bigger customer base than you. The only way you could compete with them is if you partner, because there's no way as a family business you could generate the amount of money and to be able to compete with them. And money is what you need to basically make your ideas develop. So if somebody that's coming from a bigger economy coming into your economy is always going to have a head start. So the only way that you could even the playing field is by partnering with others. That's why I said that's outdated, and that's the way of the future is to have strong partnerships. And that saying partnership is leaky ship came from us not trusting each other. We have to learn to trust each other. And the way we do it is by having contracts, performance contracts, so everybody knows what your role is in this partnership to be successful.
That's really great information. Another comment I wanted to make, and it relates to Trinez. We're so sorry that she had to leave because I'm sure there would have been a lot of questions for her, and the way that business has transformed in 60 years. But I quite liked what she said about buying up all of the real estate around the company. And if you know where Sylvia's is in New York, it takes up a whole square block because it started as a small restaurant and they bought properties on both sides, properties behind them. So as part of your recovery plan, you also have to have a vision. You have to have a vision for expansion. I'm sure you went through the same thing, Leslie, with, acquiring Billy's. I mean, when your dad passed away, I'm not sure how many locations you had, but since then, you've continued to expand. And so I think it sounds to me that as part of your succession plan, you also have to have a vision for growth, which needs to be incorporated as a key component of your plan so that listen, if I want to expand, is it going to be in one location? And am I going to have multiple locations? In the case of Sylvia's, they decided, listen, everyone loved the food so much, why don't we get into the food product services? So if you love their collard greens, you don't have to come to Harlem to get their collard greens. You can get it on the shelves in South Carolina, in Florida. So, you know, you definitely have to have a continuous vision for expansion and planning to really, as you say, Leslie, expand your business to that critical mass where you can continue to compete and grow. And I would imagine with Anjo, similar type of model. You start out small and you have a vision that includes, you know, a plan for expansion and for growth that eventually folds into your long-term plan of succession. So I think we have come to the end of our session today. I want to thank all of our presenters. We had Mario Winter, who is assistant manager at Anjo Wholesale. We had Leslie Salmon, who is the general manager at Food Brokerage Services. We had Trinez Woods Black, who is third generation, part of the ownership of the legendary restaurant in Harlem, Sylvia's Restaurant, Queen of Soul Food, and of course, our CEO, the Queen of Mangoes, Miss Megan Samuel Fields, who celebrated one of her favorite days today, International Mango Day, and also found the time to come and share her expertise and her knowledge with us here today, which we're all grateful. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much on behalf of Samuel Fields Consulting Group for sharing your expertise. We wish you every success as we continue to grapple with the pandemic, but at least continue to make great succession plans that there'll be a wealth transfer and that our businesses can continue way beyond our existence here on earth. Thank you so much. We look forward to a continued relationship, and we wish everyone best of luck. Thank you to our esteemed audience for joining us once again. We will see you very soon with another edition of our community e-learning series. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
We shall see you soon.
Have a good night.